You end the video conference with your partners at the firm and take a deep breath. Then you open that document you prepared long ago, the divorce agreement. As a lawyer with 8 years of experience, you have drafted countless divorce agreements, yet you never imagined that one day you would be preparing one for yourself. Outside the window, the setting sun is as red as blood, mirroring the cold fire burning in your heart. You think back to a year ago when Shu-Han started working late constantly, always claiming the startup projects were overwhelming. You sympathized with the pressure of starting a business and took on the responsibility of caring for Qingqing alone, but you never expected that behind his busyness hid another woman who supposedly needed his help. The sound of the front door opening comes from the living room, followed by Shu-Han's voice. Dripping with deliberate attempts to please, Qingqing, come look. Daddy bought you that limited edition music box you love so much. In the past, your daughter Xu Muqing would have bounded over like a joyful little fawn. But now, Qingqing just pauses her pen as she practices calligraphy at her desk. She doesn't even turn her head, continuing to focus intently on tracing the strokes, as if the commotion behind her has nothing to do with her. You watch the smile on Shu-Han's face freeze for a split second before quickly returning. Carrying the exquisite gift box, he walks over to his daughter and reaches out to ruffle her hair. What's wrong? Is Daddy's little princess still upset about the piano competition? Mommy knows you're upset because you didn't get the gold medal, but the silver medal is amazing too. Our Qingqing is still young. There will be plenty of opportunities. Let's try harder for first place next time, okay? Watching your daughter force her lips tight and seeing her shoulders tremble slightly, that suppressed grievance acts like a fuse, instantly igniting the anger you have held back for so long. You stand up and stride over, positioning yourself between your daughter and Shu-Han. Your voice is as cold as the depths of winter. Shu-Han, save your false sympathy. Did you really think Qingqing was too small to understand the terrible things you said back then? Both you and Qingqing remember it vividly. Backstage at the piano competition, when you learned that Qingqing had missed the gold medal only because someone had deliberately scrambled her sheet music, you insisted on going to the judges to explain the situation. Shu-Han had held you back tight, threatening you with a harshness you had never heard from him before. Lu Yao, just try and report it. If you dare go, I'll make sure Qingqing doesn't even get the silver medal. Shu-Han's brows immediately furrow, his face written with annoyance. Lu Yao, are you ever going to let this go? It was just a little friction, a small accident between children. Xiao Tao didn't do it on purpose. Little friction. Small accident? You laugh in your fury. Shu-Han, are your eyes just for decoration? The surveillance footage shows it clearly. That Zhao Tao deliberately scrambled Qingqing's sheet music right before she went on stage, just because she played her practice piece more smoothly than he did. This wasn't an accident, this was deliberate sabotage. Shu-Han's voice suddenly rises. Lu Yao, stop spreading fear. Xiao Tao is only 10 years old. What kind of malicious thoughts can a 10-year-old have? He was just being naughty and bumped it by accident. It's actually Qingqing who's the problem. He shifts the target, pointing at your silent daughter. She panicked the moment her sheet music was messed up. She has no ability to adapt on the spot. It shows her mental toughness is lacking. She drops the ball at critical moments. Her performance was unstable, so not getting the gold medal is a question of her ability. How dare you push the blame onto someone else's child? You are so choked up by his twisted logic that your chest feels tight. Just as you are about to retort, his phone rings with a special ringtone, a clear, melodious guitar piece. It is that woman's favorite song. He answers almost instantly, his tone instantly turning soft and affectionate. Hello, Feifei. A soft feminine voice comes through the speaker, crystal clear in the quiet living room. Brother Han. Am I disturbing you? Xiao Tao is over the moon today. He's been hugging those limited edition sneakers you gave him and won't let go. It really was too expensive of a gift. I'd like to treat you to a meal to thank you in person. It is Shu-Han's former classmate, Xiao Tao's mother, Xiao Feifei. You remember Shu-Han once mentioned casually that Xiao Feifei was his junior in college, and he even had a crush on her back then. Now that she is divorced and raising a child alone, the sense of satisfaction Shu-Han gets from finally being able to protect her makes you feel sick. You feel a wave of annoyance and don't want to listen anymore, so you turn to leave. However, the words limited edition sneakers strike you like a bolt of lightning. You abruptly look toward the shoe cabinet by the entrance. That was where a pair of limited edition children's sneakers used to be, sneakers Qingqing had longed for, which you had asked a friend to procure as a gift to celebrate her good results in the competition. The top shelf of the cabinet is now empty. Your heart sinks heavily. Your voice trembles though you don't realize it. Shu-Han, where are those limited edition sneakers I bought for Qingqing? Shu-Han glances at you, his tone dismissive. Oh, those shoes. Feifei said Xiao Tao really liked them and had wanted a pair for a while. Since Qingqing didn't get the gold medal this time, I figured there was no point in her wearing them, so I gave them to him. Think of it as encouragement for his performance in the competition. You gave them away. The words are practically squeezed through your gritted teeth. Qingqing, who had been forcing herself to stay calm, completely breaks down at this moment. She jerks her head up, her large eyes instantly filling with tears as she stares at her father in disbelief. Those shoes were one of the things she had longed for, a major motivation for her hard work practicing the piano. Zhao Feifei, on the other end, seems to hear your question, her tone carrying a perfectly calculated display of distress. Is that you, Sister Yao? Oh my, so you didn't know about this? I'm so sorry. Brother Han spoke so certainly about it, I just thought, would you like me to return the shoes tomorrow? Shu Han frowns deeply, his tone protective. Don't be ridiculous. Why are you being polite with me, Feifei? It's just a pair of shoes. Do you think I can't afford them? He looks at you coldly. Lu Yao, stop making trouble over nothing. It's just a pair of worn-out shoes. I'll go buy Qing Qing a different pair right now. Okay? Without waiting for your response, he turns around, yanks the door open, and walks out without looking back. Bang! The heavy sound of the door closing echoes like a death knell, striking both your and Qing Qing's hearts. You stare at the closed door, your face pale with rage. Your heart feels as if it has been plunged into an icy cavern, cold and agonizing. Zhao Feifei. In recent years, this name has appeared more and more frequently in Xu Hang's conversations. He would say that Junior Feifei was soft and simple-minded, that raising a child alone wasn't easy, and that life was a struggle for her. So he would help her out whenever he could. At first, you just assumed he was being kind. Although you felt a bit odd about it, you chose to trust that he knew his boundaries. But time and time again, for the sake of Zhao Feifei and her son, he did not hesitate to quarrel with you. Even ignoring Qing Qing's feelings until now. Zhao Tao maliciously sabotaged Qing Qing's competition, yet Xu Han not only shielded and indulged him, but he even callously gave away Qing Qing's long-awaited gift to the very person who hurt your daughter. Disappointment feels like 1,000 tiny needles piercing your heart. You take a deep breath and walk over to Qing Qing, pulling your silently weeping daughter into a tight embrace. Qing Qing buries her face in your chest, her small shoulders trembling uncontrollably. Your gaze shifts to the blank divorce agreement displayed on the computer screen in the study, your eyes growing sharp and resolute. Xu Han, this time, it is about more than just a divorce. For everything you owe Qing Qing, for all the times you looked the other way, I will make you pay it back item by item with crystal clear clarity. The next day, you took time off work. As a partner at the law firm, you rarely requested leave, but this time your daughter mattered more than any case. After dropping Qing Qing off at school, you squatted down at the gate to look her in the eye. Her eyes were still red and swollen. You spoke with solemn determination. Qing Qing, trust mommy, no one can bully you and get away with it. Qing Qing looked at you and nodded vigorously, her small hand clutching the hem of your shirt. Mommy, I just want you. In that moment, your heart felt both heavy with sorrow and burning with resolve. You knew that as a mother, you had to be strong. Leaving the school, you went straight to the City Youth Piano Competition Organizing Committee. Leveraging your status as a lawyer and your professional negotiation skills, you successfully obtained a backup copy of the surveillance footage from the backstage area. The video clearly showed that Xiao Tao had indeed taken advantage of Qing Qing's distraction to deliberately mess up the order of her sheet music and remove several key pages. Watching the panic and helplessness on Qing Qing's face in the video as she discovered the chaos in her music just before stepping on stage, your fingernails dug deep into your palms. This footage would serve as crucial evidence. When you returned home around noon, you began packing essential items and documents for both yourself and Qing Qing. Since you had decided to leave, you had to be prepared. You contacted an agent and rented a serviced apartment conveniently located near both your law firm and Qing Qing's new school. Just as you were finishing up the packing, your phone rang urgently. It was an unknown number. Excuse me, is this Miss Lu Yao, the parent of Xu Muqing? The voice on the other end sounded frantic. Your daughter accidentally fell down the stairs during recess at school. She has injured her arm and has been sent to the City People's Hospital. Please come immediately. The stairs? A fall? Qing Qing was always steady on her feet, and her play area during recess was nowhere near there. A strong sense of foreboding gripped you. You grabbed your bag and rushed out the door. In the taxi on the way to the hospital, you forced yourself to calm down and activated the voice recorder on your phone. As a lawyer, you knew the importance of preserving evidence. You raced to the hospital and practically ran into the emergency room. In the ward, Qing Qing sat on the edge of the bed. Her left arm was in a cast, her small face pale, her lips pressed tight, and her eyes held a mix of terror and forced composure. Standing beside the bed, just as you had feared, were Zhao Feifei and her son, Zhao Tao. Qing Qing, you rushed forward, kneeling to examine her cast. How are you? Does it hurt? Seeing her mother, the emotions Qing Qing had been holding back finally found a release. Large tears rolled down her cheeks, yet she stubbornly refused to cry out loud, choking out the words, Mommy, my hand hurts. You wiped away her tears with aching tenderness, then snapped your head up to glare at Zhao Feifei with eyes like daggers, your voice suppressing a seething rage. Miss Zhao, explain yourself. What exactly happened here? Why is Qing Qing hurt? And why are you the one at the hospital? Zhao Feifei was dressed in a simple, elegant dress that day. She still looked delicate and frail, but her eyes held less of the timidity she usually displayed in front of Xu Hang, and instead, a hint of imperceptible smugness. Miss Lu, please don't get upset, she said softly. Brother Han asked me to pick up Qing Qing from school as a favor. He said he was tied up today and would meet us at the hospital later. We were originally planning to take the two children to buy some new stationery, as a favor. You sneered. Then tell me, how did my daughter break her arm? Zhao Feifei sighed, a look of helpless resignation on her face. It happened at the stairwell. The children were probably just playing around, and Qingqing lost her footing and took a tumble. You know how kids are, always running around and playing. She's lying. Qingqing interrupted her, her face flushing red with anger. It was Zhao Tao. He tried to steal my new hair clip, and when I wouldn't give it to him, he pushed me from behind. He said he'd make sure I never play the piano again. Standing behind his mother, Zhao Tao poked his head out. There wasn't a trace of guilt on his face, only a smug, provocative look. He scoffed. Well, you shouldn't have been so stingy. You deserved it, Xiao Tao. Zhao Feifei scolded her son in a low voice, but her tone lacked any real rebuke. She turned back to you, Miss Lu. It's normal for children to roughhouse. You can't take everything they say literally. It was probably just a little misunderstanding. Xiao Tao didn't mean it. Looking at his mother and son, a chill ran from the soles of your feet all the way up. You finally understood completely what kind of terrible malice could breed from such unprincipled indulgence, the kind of malice Xu Han always dismissed as just an accident or kids being kids. Zhao Feifei. You enunciated each word slowly, your voice cold enough to freeze ice. You and your son make me absolutely sick. When he can't win a competition, he plays dirty tricks, and now he's physically pushing people down. You call this a little misunderstanding? Do you have to wait until someone is maimed or worse before you stop calling it just playing around? Do you think everyone is as blind as Xu Han, fooled by your hypocritical faces? Perhaps your words had ripped through her usual disguise, for Zhao Feifei's expression suddenly turned ugly. Spoiled rotten by his mother, Zhao Tao was completely lawless. Hearing you insult his mother, he shrieked like a cat whose tail had been stepped on and lunged at you. How dare you scold my mom? I'll beat you to death. He flailed his small fists trying to pummel you. Your eyes hardened as you prepared to defend yourself, but you never expected Qingqing to react faster than you did. Despite her injured left arm, she lashed out with her right leg, kicking Zhao Tao in the stomach with all her might. Zhao Tao cried out in pain and stumbled back a few steps before falling flat on his bottom. Almost simultaneously, the ward door was thrown open. Xu Han stood in the doorway, looking frantic. His eyes darted around the room, instantly landing on Zhao Tao, who was sitting on the floor and wailing loudly. His face darkened. He strode over, bent down to help Zhao Tao up, and examined him carefully, as if Zhao Tao were the one with serious injuries. Then, he turned his head, his sharp gaze fixing on Qingqing, who was still in the kicking motion. His voice was harsher than you had ever heard before. Xu Muqing, who taught you to use violence? How could you kick your brother Xiao Tao? Qingqing was stunned by her father's sudden rebuke. She instinctively pulled her leg back, her eyes instantly reddening as she defended herself tearfully. Daddy, it was him. He was trying to hit Mommy first. Seeing his backer arrive, Zhao Tao cried even louder, sobbing with exaggerated drama. Uncle Xu, I was just kindly asking if Qingqing's hand still hurt. I wanted to see her, and she suddenly kicked me. It hurt so much. You're lying. Qingqing trembled all over with anger, her little finger pointing at Zhao Tao. You clearly wanted to hit Mom, and you pushed me from behind. Enough! Xu Han impatiently interrupted Qingqing, his eyes filled with disappointment and blame. Xu Muqing, since when did you learn to lie, and since when did you learn to hit people? His gaze then shifted to you, full of sarcasm and interrogation. Lu Yao, look, this is the good daughter you raised. What exactly do you tell her usually? Making her so violent, and even teaching her to frame others. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Can't you set a good example for her? You looked at Xu Han, at this man you once loved deeply, thinking you would spend your whole life with him. At this moment, in order to defend someone else's son, he was blindly accusing your injured daughter. That strange expression, those harsh words, were like a dull knife cutting into your heart over and over again. When anger reaches its peak, you stop feeling pain, only a numb, icy coldness remains. If Qingqing hadn't been there, you really would have wanted to ask him, Xu Han, where exactly has your heart gone? Are your eyes and ears open selectively only for the Zhao mother and son? You took a deep breath, shielded Qingqing behind you, and met Xu Han's gaze. Your tone was calm but carried an undeniable power. Xu Han, if you don't need your eyes, you can donate them to someone who does. If your ears are just for show, you might as well plug them up. The doctor has a diagnostic report for the injury on Qingqing's arm. It's a radial bone fracture. As for Zhao Tao pushing people at school, is there no surveillance at the stairway? Are there no witnesses in the school? I will investigate all of this, one by one. You paused, your gaze sweeping over Zhao Feifei, whose face had changed slightly, and Zhao Dao, who was still fake crying, before finally settling on Xu Han's face. As for why Qingqing kicked him, it's because he deserved it. An ill-bred thing, daring to lay a hand on me, my daughter protecting her own mom, is perfectly justified. I want to see, with today's incident, who is really lying and who is being violent. Xu Han was choked by your string of words, his face turning first red then pale. Seeing this, Zhao Feifei quickly stepped forward, playing the role of the peacemaker, her tone carrying her habitual weakness. Brother Han, don't get angry. Sister Yao, she's probably just too heartbroken because Qingqing got hurt. Plus there were some misunderstandings before, so she has a grudge against me and Xiao Tao, that's why. It's okay, it doesn't matter if we suffer a little grievance. Please don't quarrel because of us, mother and son. Her words seemed like persuasion, but in reality they added fuel to the fire, imperceptibly pushing all the responsibility onto your pettiness and misunderstanding of them. Xu Han was indeed even more furious. He looked at you with eyes full of disappointment and disgust. Lu Yao, you are truly unreasonable. If you hadn't always held such prejudice and targeted Fei Fei and Xiao Tao everywhere, would things have turned out like this? I really can't communicate with you right now. He took Xiao Tao's hand, his tone instantly becoming gentle. Xiao Tao, stop crying. Uncle will take you to see a doctor and get you checked up, okay? Then he said to Zhao Feifei, Feifei, please come with me. Throughout it all, he didn't look at Qingqing again, nor did he ask a single question about whether her hand still hurt or how her injury was. You watched the backs of the three of them leaving the ward. It was as if they were the family. You turned around and hugged the slightly trembling Qingqing tightly. Mommy. Qingqing buried her face in your chest, her voice muffled, carrying a crying tone, yet unusually clear. I don't want new stationery, and I don't want Daddy anymore. Let's go. You stroked her hair, your voice firm but gentle. Okay, Mommy will take you away. You didn't go straight home. Instead, you took Qingqing to a dessert shop she liked? Watching your daughter eating the cake in small bites, your heart felt as if it were being clenched by something. As a lawyer, you had seen too many cases of broken marriages, but you never thought you would reach this stage yourself. Mommy, Qingqing looked up, her eyes still red. Are we really going to leave Daddy? You held your daughter's hand. Qingqing, Mommy wants to ask you, are you happy when you are with Daddy? Qingqing shook her head and said softly, Daddy always speaks up for Brother Xiao Tao. Last time for my birthday, Daddy promised to take me to the amusement park, but Brother Xiao Tao had a fever, so Daddy went to the hospital to accompany him. Your heart felt a sharp pain. It turned out that unconsciously, Xu Han had already missed so many important moments in his daughter's life. After settling Qingqing to sleep in the hotel apartment, you began your campaign. First, you contacted a reputable private detective and paid double the fee to investigate Zhao Feifei's background as soon as possible. Focus on investigating her financial status, her love life, and the real reason for her divorce from her ex-husband, you instructed professionally. Subsequently, you began to systematically organize evidence, competition surveillance footage, hospital diagnostic reports, audio files, each was carefully labeled with time and location. Years of lawyer experience taught you that the integrity of the chain of evidence is crucial. After listening to your statement on the phone, Gu Xiang fell silent for a moment. Yao Yao, according to Article 1084 of the Civil Code, the judgment of custody rights is based on the principle of what is most beneficial to the minor child. Xu Han's behavior has already constituted dereliction of guardianship. However, I suggest we send a lawyer's letter first to see his reaction. No, you said calmly. Prepare the litigation materials directly. I know Xu Han, he is completely blinded right now and won't wake up easily. During the days waiting for the detective's news, you applied for remote work from the law firm. Every morning you took Qingqing to school, then went home to work, and picked up your daughter on time in the afternoon. Qingqing's arm needed regular checkups. Every time the dressing was changed, your heart ached, but Qingqing was very strong. Mommy, I won't cry. If I cry, the bad people will gloat. A week later, the detective sent a preliminary report. The results were shocking. Zhao Feifei wasn't poor at all like she pretended to be. She was a planning director at a cultural company, with an annual income of over $500,000. She owned an apartment and a car under her name. More importantly, the detective took photos of her on dates with different men, and the timeline showed she was maintaining ambiguous relationships with multiple people simultaneously. Also, the detective added on the phone, I found out the reason her ex-husband divorced her was because he discovered she was seeing multiple men at the same time, including clients from her company. Looking at the evidence in your hands, a mix of anger and desolation washes over you. Xu Han, you absolute fool. You are being used like a cash machine and you don't even know it. At the same time, through Qingqing's teacher, you managed to locate an eyewitness to the incident at the stairwell that day, a third-grade boy. He confirmed that he saw Zhao Tao push Qingqing, and you recorded his testimony using professional equipment. The chain of evidence was falling into place piece by piece. That afternoon, you took Qingqing to the City People's Hospital to get her cast removed. Unexpectedly, you ran into Xu Han, Zhao Feifei, and her son in the hallway. Zhao Tao pointed at Qingqing's arm and laughed loudly. Instead of stopping him, Xu Han actually blamed you for not telling him about the follow-up appointment. Watching Xu Han defend the Zhao mother and son, you knew the time had come to show him the truth. Back at your apartment, you packed up the latest updates and the detective's report, sending them to Gu Xiang. This is brilliant, Gu Xiang replied. This evidence is enough to prove that Zhao Feifei is exploiting Xu Han. I suggest we use a psychological tactic. Instead of sending a formal lawyer's letter immediately, let's find a way for Xu Han to discover the truth himself. You thought for a moment and agreed with Gu Xiang's strategy. You knew that only by letting Xu Han see Zhao Feifei's true colors with his own eyes could he truly wake up. The opportunity arrived quickly. A week later, a jewelry store called to say that Zhao Feifei had ordered a necklace for Xu Han, but had left the wrong contact information. You immediately realized this was the perfect chance. At the jewelry store, when you opened the gift box containing the diamond necklace and saw the flirtatious card Zhao Feifei had written, you nearly let out a cold laugh. She was using expensive gifts to placate Su-han while using cash flow difficulties as an excuse to delay paying him back. It was a tactic both clever and despicable. That evening, you brought this gift to your former home. Su-han looked haggard when he opened the door, but a glimmer of hope sparked in his eyes when he saw you. Yao Yao, are you finally willing to see me? You handed the jewelry box to him. Zhao Feifei asked someone to pass this on to you. As Su-han read the card, his expression shifted from surprise to awkwardness, and finally to paleness. He tried to explain that the money was an investment, but you cut him off. It was time. You pulled out your phone and put up the photos sent by the private investigator. Take a look at the true face of the fragile junior you've been defending all this time. Su-han flipped through the photos. His hands beginning to tremble. Zhao Feifei on intimate dates with different men, dining at high-end restaurants, shopping at luxury boutiques. The woman in these photos was a complete stranger to the poor and helpless single mother he knew. And her son, Xiao Tao, you continued, pretends to be obedient and sensible in front of you, but bullies Qingqing behind your back, cheating in competitions, stealing things, pushing her down the stairs. And you? You didn't believe your own daughter, and you hurt her again and again. You played the recording from the hospital. Listening to his own voice siding with Xiao Tao and blaming Qingqing, Shu-han began to shake violently. The words he had thought were perfectly justified at the time now sounded excruciatingly harsh. What have I done? Shu-han collapsed to the floor, burying his face in his hands. I just thought she was pitiful. Xiao Tao doesn't have a father. Then don't you think Qingqing deserves pity? Your voice trembled with suppressed pain. She has her own father, yet she has to watch him act like a good uncle to someone else. Shu-han finally broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. In this moment he was no longer the stubborn man. He was just a father realizing the magnitude of his mistake. You've already received the formal legal notice, you said calmly. Gu Xiang will send you the divorce agreement, and I am determined to win custody of Qingqing. As you left, you took one last look at Shu-han. The man who once made your heart skip a beat was now nothing more than a dejected shadow. The atmosphere in the court mediation room was heavy. Following standard procedure, the judge attempted mediation first. Mr. Xu, Ms. Lu. Are you certain that your marriage has completely broken down and is beyond repair? The judge asked. You nodded firmly. I'm certain. Shu-han opened his mouth as if to speak, then finally said in a low voice, I respect Lu Yao's decision. When mediation failed, the case moved to litigation. In court, Gu Xiang presented her arguments with clarity and logic. According to Article 1084 of the Civil Code, custody decisions must be based on the principle of what is best for the minor child. Mr. Shu-han has repeatedly chosen to side with outsiders when his daughter was harmed, which has seriously affected Qingqing's physical and mental health. Gu Xiang presented the evidence one by one. Surveillance footage from the competition, medical records, testimony from the school, audio recordings, and finally, the investigation report on Zhao Feifei's true situation. Each piece of evidence struck Shu-han's heart like a heavy hammer. Shu-han's lawyer attempted to argue, but their defense appeared pale and powerless in the face of such irrefutable evidence. Finally, the judge announced the verdict in court. The divorce was granted. You were awarded sole custody of Qingqing. Shu-han was granted visitation rights, but they must occur at times and locations you approve, and he is forbidden from bringing Zhao Feifei and her son along. As you walked out of the courthouse, Qingqing held your hand tightly. Mom, is it just going to be the two of us from now on? Yes, just the two of us. Are you scared? Qingqing shook her head. As long as I'm with you, Mom, anywhere is home. Shu-han chased after them, wanting to speak to Qingqing. After receiving his daughter's consent, he squatted down and apologized, his voice choked with tears. Dad, Qingqing asked earnestly. Do you still think brother Zhao Tao is just being naughty? No, Dad was wrong. Then do you still think Auntie Feifei is pitiful? No, she isn't pitiful. Dad was just too foolish. Qingqing gently wiped away Shu-han's tears. Dad, I forgive you. But... She looked back at you. I want to live with Mom now. A month later, you moved with Qingqing to a neighboring city. Your new home was in a quiet community, right across from a park. On the first night in the new house, Qingqing leaned against the windowsill, gazing at the night view. Mom, the stars here are brighter than they were at our old home. That's because the air is cleaner here. No, Qingqing said, turning to wrap her arms around your neck. It's because there's no one here to make you sad anymore. At the new school, Qingqing quickly made friends. When you took her to a trial painting class, she said, Mom, I don't want to learn piano anymore. Why not? Qingqing held up her palette, covered in warm shades of orange and yellow. Piano reminds me of unhappy things, but painting, look, I can paint all the colors inside my heart. She painted a field of sunflowers, their golden petals blooming under the sunlight. The art teacher was amazed by her talent, but you were just relieved to see your daughter finding happiness again. In the days that followed, you adjusted your work schedule to ensure you could drop off and pick up your daughter every day. You visited a psychologist weekly to help Qingqing heal from the trauma. Gradually, Qingqing began to play the piano again, but this time, she was playing for herself. Shu-han's visitations were usually scheduled for the weekends. At first, Qingqing was a bit distant with him. But gradually, their relationship began to heal. Xu Han was no longer as self-righteous as he used to be. He had finally learned to listen. After one visitation, Xu Han said to Yu, "She's changed a lot. She's much more cheerful now. That's because she can finally be herself." The days drifted by peacefully. One day, Gu Xiang called with some news. Zhao Feifei has left the city. She borrowed quite a bit of money before she left, and now her creditors are all looking for her. Does Xu Han know? He does. I heard he's blocked all of Zhao Feifei's contact information. 6 months later on a weekend, Xu Han came for his regular visit. Qingqing excitedly pulled him over to look at her new painting. "Look, Dad, this is our new home." The painting depicted the apartment building where you lived, with warm light glowing from every window. "It's beautiful. Mom says I've improved a lot. Next semester, I'll be able to enter the city's art competition." Looking at the sparkle in his daughter's eyes, Xu Han said softly, "Qingqing, you're like a sunflower always growing toward the sun." Qingqing thought for a moment and said, "Dad, I'm really happy now. You and Mom don't have to argue anymore." "I'm so sorry, Qingqing. It's okay. Mom says we should look forward." On a sunny afternoon, Yu accompanied Qingqing to the park for a sketching session. Qingqing focused on capturing the scenery in the distance, her brush making a soft rustling sound against the paper. "Mom, look." Qingqing held up her sketchbook. It showed the park at sunset, with a golden afterglow spilling across the grass and a few children playing nearby. The whole scene radiated warmth and tranquility. "My teacher said this painting is full of life." Qingqing leaned against Yu. "Mom, why do you think that is?" You wrapped your arm around your daughter and whispered, "Because the person who painted it has sunshine in their heart." Qingqing set down her sketchbook and threw herself into your arms. "Mom, I'm really happy right now." "I am too." You held her tight. "We're going to be happy like this for a long time." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the shadows of the mother and daughter embracing stretched long across the grass.